Bro, listen.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good, host story.
You know, I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Can't get enough baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
Welcome to the Eye Test Podcast, where I have my favorite guest of all time, A's Assistant General Manager, Billy Owens. He's been there forever. If you don't know Billy Owens, you don't know baseball. That's the way I put it. Billy, thanks for joining, man. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Julian, great to be on, man.
So I wanted to talk to you about, Oakland. Obviously, they closed up shop at the A's yesterday. I was watching, and I was sort of got, shocked myself that it was like a choked up moment, even for me, when thinking back to the times I used to be down there batting practice, talking to you, Shooty Babbitt, Bip, Ricky Henderson, seeing Ricky Henderson in the clubhouse. And that was just sort of like this unreal, unimaginable moment for me. Growing up watching these guys, obviously Dave Stewart as well, developing a relationship with Dave Stewart where I can call him. Just what was your thoughts on that entire moment, and how special was it to see Oakland show out the way it did?
No, it was a great turnout. I mean, it's obviously the Oakland A's have been there for 57 years. I'm 51 years old. Actually, I grew up in the Bay Area, not too far away in San Jose, California. So my first experience at the Oakland Coliseum was all the way back to 1978. Went to a game in 78. Mitchell Page, left-handed hitter, was probably my first favorite player in those days. I was there for the whole when Ricky Henderson actually watched that. They didn't have cable TV. I think ESPN just came out. Remember watching Ricky break the record when he broke in the Bash Brother era. Went to college during the Bay Bridge series. I was a freshman in college, but totally locked into there. The heartache of the Kirk Gibson home run. So yeah, literally, I've watched the A's, the Raiders, the Warriors, in that complex since 1978. I'm a guy that I played baseball through AAA. I played football and baseball, University of Arizona. And so I had a history of, going to those games and actually where the park is off of 580. I mean, there's so many times you just drove by that place. Actually, from a Boston syndicate here, I think you can look up. Larry Bird has like one game he scored under 10 points. I was there at the Coliseum.
Really?
In the 80s. Yeah, I mean, just crazy memories. I was going back and forth with a lot of guys you mentioned in your intro, and not even so much the big names. Obviously, Stu and Billy North is more of the guys that I knew everybody. I mean, just as far as watching those guys and not having cable in those days, you got the local games. So you got the A's, you got the Giants, you got the Raiders. I mean, so those guys from Kenny Stabler, the quarterback, to Marcus Allen, Cliff Branch, to Ricky, Stu, Carney, Gallego. Mike Heath was a catcher in the early 80s. I mean, Dwayne Murphy was the quintessential center fielder. Ricky flanked on left field, and Tony Armas actually was that was like the Mecca outfield. Ricky in left, Dwayne Murphy in center, Tony Armas in right. So, yeah, man, lot of memories, history, 57 years. And honestly, being an employee there since 1999 and going to my first game since 78, and the 3 World Series happened 72, 73, 74 in that era. So you got those highlights vividly. Reggie, Sal Bando, Catfish, Raleigh Fingers. So all those guys, you got those highlights as a 7 to 10-year-old kid, and then Billy Martin going back and forth from the Yankees to the A's, Reggie them going battling from when Billy played for him for the Yankees and Reggie coming back to Oakland. I remember we got tickets to those games. I think I watched the A's in the split season '81. I was there for the playoffs, A's Yankees. So man, it's kind of a surreal moment. And like I said, it's not only my 26 years there as employee since 1999 and the great teams and the 12 playoff appearances we've had, but my memories go back to 78, 1978, and not only just the A's. You're talking the great Raider teams and the Warriors. I can rattle off all the Warriors. I mean, it was a surreal moment for sure, and especially in that complex. Driving by there as a kid, going back and forth to your games, dreaming about playing over there, and now for that, not to have the Warriors, not to have the A's or the Raiders, it's pretty surreal.
What did it mean to because obviously when I worked out there, I mean, you got the sense of like this Bay Area pride is different than a lot of places, a lot of cities that you go, particularly like on the West Coast. You guys have a little bit more. You guys are laid back and chill, but you still have that edge to you, right? And I talked to Gary Pettis about it about a month ago when the Red Sox were in Houston. He talked about the Oakland pride. What does it mean to work in the place where you where you grew up in the Bay Area?
Yeah, it's been a blessing. I mean, like I said, to go to the A's, Warriors, Raiders, 49ers games, as a kid in the 70s and 80s, and to be able to come back later after I played in the minor leagues to work for basically the local team, it's been a pretty surreal. I mean, and you're talking about the edge of Oakland and the history. And, I kind of recapped a lot of stuff from there, but, Bill Russell is from Oakland. Frank Robinson is from Oakland. Gary Pettis is from Oakland. Vida Pinson is from Oakland. And so Joe Morgan is from Oakland. So, I mean, Marcus Simeon recently is from Oakland. And actually, me and Marcus go back to, I played at Bellarmine Preps, kind of like the Tom Brady played in our league at Sarah High School. Bellarmine's in that league. And Marcus Simeon's father, who was an all Pac-10 wide receiver at Cal, we're the same age. And he played in Reardon as part of that league, too. So, yeah, man, it's to go back and experience all that stuff in the Bay and to have, sports. I mean, growing up, the Raiders won a couple Super Bowls. The Niners won 4 Super Bowls. The A's preceded me with those 3 titles. But, my freshman year in college, they won the Bay Bridge Series. They lost the Kirk Gibson home run the year before. And then they lost to the Reds in '90 with Eric Davis and that cast of character. And Jose Rio, who actually signed with the Yankees, got traded to the A's, but he beat us that World Series for the Reds. So, I mean, the history and nostalgia. I mean, I literally, from text and email and conversations, I pretty much just wrote out thousands of guys just had passed through those walls. And yeah, I mean, those memories flooded, man. They said, and it didn't flood from, me being an employee from 1999. My memories they flooded from 1978, and not just the A's. It flooded from, Kenny Stabler, Mark Van Egan, Dave Casper, Cliff Branch, Art Shell, to Purvis Short, Sleepy Floyd, Joe Barry Carroll, Robert Parrish, who somehow we traded to the Celtics. I mean, yeah, just all that stuff, man. Those memories flooded my mind yesterday for sure.
You talk about your memory, Billy O, and I think what's known around the league and around the majors and the industry world, the industry as a whole, is that you have one of the best photographic memories out there, right? I think in terms of the way you're able to remember players, I believe, I can't remember who wrote the story, but when you went to go talk to Kyler Murray, you knew his middle name. And he was like, how does he know my middle name? Where does that come from?
It's kind of crazy. I always had that recall as far as on stuff I was interested in. And so as far as you really getting into the sports, having a passion for it, I can tell you, when Reggie hit a homer, I can remember Reggie played one year for the Orioles. Eddie Murray was my guy. seeing Ricky, come up, but I've always had that recall. I mean, somehow, guys that somehow remember Hank Aaron having a bat, for the Braves in like 75, and I was like 4 years old. And I'd tell that story in high school, and guys like, there's no way you remember watching Hank Aaron. But with my mindset and my memory, if it has to do with sports that, I care about, I can remember it and I can visualize it. And I've actually been always a pretty good writer myself. And it's been pretty fun to not only to be able to do the scouting aspect and see all these guys on the way up, but also to write the reports and put my own spin to it. That's always, it's accurate, but it's definitely a fun read as well.
It's poetry. I could say, like I always tell you, you have to be. I think one day you deserve a book because with the way you write, it almost reminds me of the way in which we write, right? Like it's creative. Like you have to capture your reader. When did you start doing that with your scout reports? Was that something that was always embedded in you, or was it just like, you know what, I'm gonna make sure mine stands out this way?
Yeah, I think it was always going on this side of baseball. I wanted to have a unique spin on it. But at first, you kind of go to school for the scouting aspect, and you're writing the cookie cutter reports like everybody else. And then at some point, I started putting my own spin to it, and I realized that people actually enjoyed reading them. And then from there, I kind of took it to another level. And then after that, I was like, I hated if I ever like repeated something. And so it almost went back to, like your 10th grade English class. I learned how to actually put definitely a forum to it, where if you really, there's a structure to my reports that, so you don't go backwards, you don't repeat yourself. And so with that, there's a style, there's a structure, there's a story, there's an accuracy. You're telling us, it's all that wrapped up in a paragraph, and you don't want to get too wordy either. So, I mean, so there's a lot of different stuff that you add to, but I also want the reader to be able to close their eyes, picture that player, good or bad, and understand who he is, where he's coming from, where he's going. And so for that 5 minutes, they can visualize it. So yeah, it's personal for me. And then honestly, I like to do the comparisons are never perfect, but in the reports, I like to have some kind of a comparable, whether it's a recent player, a player that's, in everybody's memory, that's not only looks like that player, but has a similar style or similar productivity, and have it totally match. So a lot of time when I'm at the game, I'm almost just thinking, who does this guy remind me of? And just doing that and a similar story, from there I can blend it together. And at some point when I go back to that hotel, I can put it together.
Is there a player that you've ever watched that you're like, whoa, he stands out and he doesn't remind me of necessarily anyone? And how do you then sort of go about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not everybody has a comparable, but you still got to be able to describe and visualize and tell a story so the reader understands what you're seeing, but everybody's different. I go back to, seeing certain guys in high school, Francisco Lindor always stands out to me. I mean, the first time I saw him back then, Jimmy Rollins was still playing. So I think at the end of my report, I put, switch hitting shortstop, had a lot of leadership to him. I put a J-roll plus on Francisco Lindor at the time. And he's kind of maybe even taken, but I think Jimmy's a Hall of Fame player, honestly, as well. But I think Lindor might have taken that to another level. I remember being maybe a lighter on Kyle Seager at the time, coming out of North Carolina as a second round pick. And he did his thing for the Mariners. So going to see his brother Corey Seager, not only was I ready to, really be positive on Corey, but that day in high school, Corey Seager blew me away. I mean, not only was he a fluid shortstop and had all the, physical aspects and intangibles and a sweet swing, but the man was 6'5" with all that, with the history and the confidence. And, for a guy, for him to be, two-time World Series MVP in the American League and National League, if you just saw Corey Seager in the day I saw him in high school, that's not a surprise.
I'm a I'm gonna put you on the spot, but I'm gonna put you on the spot with things that you're ultimately great at, and it's ultimately players. And it's just going back to the first time you might have seen them. So I'm gonna start first here with Andrew Bailey.
Andrew Bailey, great story, pitching coach there for the Red Sox. So proud of Andrew. First time I saw Andrew Bailey, that here's draft year. We were going to, I was supposed to go to the SEC tournament, and Andrew had Tommy John surgery 2 years before. And the last second, they sent me to Andrew's conference tournament up there. He went to a small school up there. I think the tournament was at where the Phillies play A-ball low A up there in Pennsylvania. And so the first time I saw him, the first pitch of the game was like 96 miles an hour. He actually had a natural cutter to his fastball. He had an outstanding curveball as well. And so from seeing that, to get pulled from the SEC tournament to go to more of a mid-major type deal, but specifically to see Andrew and for his talent to come out, really pitch one. And honestly, that day, we're going back to like 2006 or 7, and kind of to look around at the audience that day. It was his last college game he pitched, and to kind of know I could pick my spot where we're going to select him was pretty exciting. And to see what he did for us immediately, he got through the minors pretty quickly, ended up winning the Rookie of the Year, fantastic pitcher for 10 years. But then afterwards, to be the pitching coach for the Giants and now for the Boston Red Sox, and just be an outstanding person, it's been a pretty cool story.
Matt Chapman, that's one of my favorite players. Matt Chapman.
Matt Chapman, he was good story. I mean, Cal State Fullerton, first time I saw him playing third base, him and JD Davis were college teammates, and obviously the gloves always been Gold Glove caliber. He had production in college, but his biggest takeaway honestly wasn't the first day we saw him. I'm not huge on workouts before the draft, but we picked 25 that year, and Matt Chapman came to a kind of a workout before the draft that year, and he hit 20 balls in the seats. And, he showed that arm strength was one of the better arms I've ever seen in person. And the defense was, he could play Gold Glove defense at third or shortstop. So he kind of blew you away. I mean, especially that workout before the draft was like, it was jaw dropping.
Matt Olson.
Matt Olson, great story. Parkview High School, Little Bern, Georgia. That's where Jeff Francoeur went. I was an area scout 2002 when Jeff Francoeur came out of the draft. So knew the school. They've had Jeff Keppinger went there as well. But Olson, man, he's 6'5". I mean, he had dancer's feet at first base like a ballerina. I mean, the power was prodigious. And he was like a no-brainer. And we knew, Matt's brother went to Harvard. Matt's father played in college, but Matt let it be known that he wanted to sign professionally if he went a certain spot. But yeah, that day at Parkview, there was no fence that was far enough. And honestly, the first base defense was exquisite from day one. He was actually a pretty good pitcher. He was a guy that can throw you 93, 94 as well in high school. So, yeah, just the vision, the power, the grace, that the way he moved at first base, it was all evident. And, with Matt Olson, not only does he give you all those attributes, he's truly a better person than he is a player that hit 54 home runs last year. What he's done in the community, he's just a real dude, man. So, his Falcons, I had to get on about his Falcons. He's a diehard Falcons fan. So when Brady came back against him that year in that comeback, I had to give him some stuff about that. But as far as him being a cool person, a great dude, and a prodigious home run hitter that doesn't take a day off, you saw a lot of that first day at Parkview High School in Little Bern, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, for sure.
A couple more. Obviously this guy just bursted onto the scene, but you guys saw something in him. Mason Miller.
Yeah, Mason Miller. That's a great story. I mean, he's he was a Division III school in Pennsylvania, throwing like 84 miles an hour, and then he was going to get like a banking job before his senior year in college, and he was diagnosed as being, had some kind of diabetic, and so once he was able to treat that, his fastball jumped up to another level, and then Matt Higginson, our Canadian scout, actually went to Gardner Webb University, and so somehow Mason didn't sign that first year. He went to Gardner Webb University, so he kind of had the inside scoop a little bit. And so I'm in South Carolina watching the Gamecocks versus LSU. And the next day they said, okay, we want you to go see Mason Miller, Gardner Webb at Presbyterian College. And so I go down there, Mason's 6'5", great body, pitcher's body. And he's literally throwing 97 to 100 miles an hour, with a good breaking ball, nice touch on the changeup. And so the ingredients were there. And actually his agent was sitting, he was in attendance that day. And I kind of told him, I said, hey, man, you put a Wake Forest or you put a South Carolina on this guy's jersey and he goes in the first round. So I just kind of, let that be known that he was that kind of talent. So for us to be able to get him in the third round that year, and honestly, I'm really happy that we paid him, pretty much full freight third round money, because sometimes surprise you're negotiating because you got a finite amount, but he was well worth obviously every penny. And that day, Mason Miller for Gardner Webb at Presbyterian, 97 to 100 with all the fixings on the mound, smooth delivery. He showed you everything you're seeing on television today.
And just to bring it home real quick for to the Red Sox side, but obviously they have a guy in Roman Anthony who's played very, very well in the minor leagues. Just, did you ever see him play in high school, and sort of what stood out like to you, if so?
Yeah, I just think Roman's a guy that is just a smooth, all field stroke, great body. He's just put up numbers so far. And honestly, I mean, you guys went back to the well there because, Tristan Cassis is a guy that I saw extensively. He played for Team USA. Saw Tristan Cassis, more than Roman as an amateur. And Tristan Cassis controlled that strike zone, 6'5". In a lot of ways, Tristan Cassis had similarities to Matt Olson. I mean, so yeah, and yeah, and the kid Bryce Eldridge with the Giants right now coming up. Those three guys between Olson, Cassis, and now Eldridge as amateurs, 6'5", had the fluidity, the short swing, and light tower power. Those guys all three are in the conversation. And Anthony Rizzo is actually from down there too. Actually, that's kind of where Jesus Luzardo, I think him and Anthony went to the same high school down there in South Florida. And so, yeah, that's been a very fertile area. So, yeah, when you're scouting, when you're seeing these guys on television, you always know the story and kind of relive the story as they're going through the ranks, for sure. Always.
Well, Billy, I'll tell you this. I live the stories of these guys through your scouting reports, and definitely through all your wisdom that you give with the game, your importance to the game. Obviously, the A's were a huge part of it is my springboard to this, and you guys were all a part of that. So I greatly appreciate you and the A's family. And
no, we appreciate that. I mean, baseball, the Oakland chapter of 57 years, like I said, and I'm 53 years old actually, and to be a part of that since 1978, to go to those games at the Coliseum, the A's, the Raiders, the Warriors, that complex, to see that, over the years, how it's grown and the memories, and the great players, the personalities, um, Ricky, Stu, and Carney, and Steinbeck, and Eck. I mean, these guys, they're legends, man. And so, yeah, Dwayne Murphy. I said that outfield, man, of Ricky, Murph, Tony Armas. I mean, it was special. And you can't, you know, Cool in the Gang, Celebration. That, that came out, man. I remember
Yeah.
Cool in the Gang. That song came out like early 80s, man. So, and they played that since then, Celebration. They've been rocking that when you leave the stadium when the A's win since like 81, 82, man. And yeah, I mean, and they rocked it yesterday, man. Yeah, I definitely shed a lot of tears.
Awesome, Billy O. Thanks for joining, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, it's great to be here, man. And I just truly enjoy, the history, trying to create history. And so, the Red Sox doing that in Boston, going back to, Theodore Samuel, Ted Williams and, Yaz. And yeah, so I get in, I love all that nostalgia, man, Rocket and Pedro and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great, man. I love
Yeah.
it, man.
Cool, man.